Welcome, it's Rucks, Moors and Overballs, and yes, we are back with Season 2. And this is Episode 1 of the brand new season, getting ready for the year of rugby ahead. It's me, Dave, and I'm back, joined as ever by the ever handsome Rory. Rory, say hello to the listener.
Hello, listener. Hello. Thank you for calling me handsome. God, we said it'd be a flirty season, and it's turned out that way.
Well, last season was mundane. This season's flirty. And as we move into the banter section, Rory, I know we normally fill it with stories in our lives, things we've got on with, but because this is Episode 1 of Season 2, I want to do it slightly differently. And Rory, I want you, for any new listeners perhaps out there finding us at the start of Season 2, how would you describe Rucks, Moors and Overballs in 30 seconds?
Well, if you're tired of listening to the same old ex-professionals give their expert opinions with well-reasoned thoughts based on experience and time in the game, if you want raw, unfiltered, amateur opinions, then this is the place to be. We're just two rugby nerds who love chatting the game.
Yeah, two rugby nerds with no credentials, no leg in the game, nothing to lose and nothing to gain. If that doesn't sell it, I don't know what does, Rory.
You've got to have a mission statement as a podcast, and I think we've found ours.
We've really nailed on to our mission statement, and that is the plan, folks. We are here to talk rugby, and we're going to cover everything we can about rugby. And if you're not familiar with us, get familiar with us. Is that too aggressive? I don't know. But
no, just say it more flirty. Get familiar with us.
Perfect. Oh, I'm enjoying this flirty start, Rory. This podcast. So we've been away for a few weeks on our off season. So we're going to start off just covering a couple of bits of news that have taken place whilst we've been off the air. We're going to be talking about the Women's World Cup, obviously. We're going to talk a couple of highlights of the off-season so far, maybe about some of the kits that are coming into play, some of the big-name signings that have taken place whilst we've not been talking. And then a new section that we're going to, if you are familiar with our social media, we're going to talk a bit grassroots gang. We're going to talk a bit of the stuff that's going on, local rugby, and, you know, perhaps we might have someone on the panel who is playing regularly this season, so you can update us on how that's going, maybe. And we'll just see how that goes. For episode 1, we're going to be rusty, it's going to be clunky, but we're going to have fun, and it's going to be flirty. So, let's start off. A couple of things that have happened whilst we've been taking our well-earned break, Rory. One that I know is quite close to your heart, something that you will almost certainly have an opinion on. The news that broke in the offices of the Millennium Principality Stadium, whatever it's called these days, the WRU looking at their model for their regions, perhaps dropping down to 2 regions. Loads of other stuff to go in the background, but the headline being going down to 2 regions, actually funding the women's game. That was a bit of good news in there, some academy stuff. But what are your thoughts on that? And is it just more chaos at the WRU?
Well, it is, but, it wouldn't be the WRU if it wasn't chaos. I first heard this story touted by Sam Warburton a little while back. So from what I believe the grand vision of this is, so obviously a lot of it's down to, can the WRU fund 4 regions? That is looking less and less likely by the day, frankly. What we know is that they're looking at splitting Wales into East and West Wales, so 2 regions. Now, where this makes sense is that traditionally at age grade representative rugby, that was traditionally how they organised youth rugby in terms of a pyramid up towards bringing together a national team. Yeah. So you'd have effectively regional trial matches between East and West Wales. So go schools, districts, regions, national team. To that effect, anyway. Yeah. So I think the theory is the regions as they are now they don't have the historical context that the old clubs did and still do to a certain extent, which is why they've struggled to attract fan bases or regular fan bases that can fill out the stadium and generate income. And I think the theory is if they go down to East and West Wales, there's a historical connotation there, and that will actually draw more support to them. obviously the difficulty with that is you're then saying to two of Newport, Cardiff, Swansea effectively, and Llanelli that they don't have any top-level professional rugby. And that's causing consternation.
Understandably.
Now, I actually don't know the answers because I'm loath to contradict Sam Warburton's thoughts on this because this is what he's touted. But I'm really sympathetic to anyone whose fandom is threatened by the loss of a club.
Yeah, you feel for those who are kind of caught in the crossfire. But I think we've said in the past that perhaps one of the ways that the WRU fixes things is to burn it to the ground and start again. This isn't necessarily, it's not a full burning to the ground, but this is a major, major, major shift and could be what's needed. It's just there'll be a lot of casualties along the way, which is obviously not ideal.
I mean, what I would say is if you modelled this on, say, similar to the New Zealand system, where you maintained the historic local clubs as they were, so the like of Pontypridd, Pontypool, Gwent, Neath, obviously Swansea, Cardiff, Newport,
Llandovery,
Ebbw Vale, all those kind of teams, and run them similar to, say, the NPC in New Zealand. So you have the two regions that run as part of the URC, and then you have an NPC of the historic clubs, if sort of below that, but maybe running almost entirely separately. So you have a pyramid with which players can come through, and then the best players from those are then drafted into the regions. Maybe that could work. I don't know. I'm not sure how well that works in a professional environment now.
Yeah.
The difficulty is the WRU's got itself in such knots because it's already in such a mess.
Yeah.
Which is where the burn it down and start again argument sort of comes into it because I heard it described as they never go back to square one. They at best go back to square three.
That's a good analogy. I think that does. It's a nice metaphor to paint a picture for anyone who is listening who isn't quite familiar with the WRU. They do seem to bite their nose to spite their face, and then some quite often. Yeah. And logic rarely prevails, I think is fair to say.
Well, the thing is, neither of us are. I think we both got a fair bit of Welsh blood in us and know a lot of Welsh people, but we're not born and bred Welshmen. So This is only anecdotal from an outsider's observer, but from my understanding of it, Welsh rugby is parochial. Yeah. It's tribal. Yeah. You've got, you will have at local level in quite a small village, you'll have two teams there that despise each other. You'll have Upper Cantach and Lower Cantach, and they will refuse to cooperate with each other because of some slight that happened in the 1980s that no one can forgive. Yeah. It's that kind of environment, and you combine that with the Welsh love of committees at all level, and what you essentially end up with is a pretty ungovernable system that no one can kind of command and lead. So whoever took this job on at any point was always on an uphill battle. And Abby Tierney, obviously very sad for her. She's had some very sad news with her health and has obviously had to step away. Quite a crucial juncture. Essentially as soon as this gets announced, she gets this awful diagnosis and has to step down for at least temporarily. And it's just another example of Welsh rugby being sort of left in the lurch with no one quite knowing what's happening. They're going through this consultation, which will just be 1 year of everyone arguing, no one agreeing, and then someone coming up with a solution that pleases no one.
It does feel like an endless cycle of consultations as well, because I'm pretty sure this isn't the first consultation they've had.
No. Well, it's a country that loves a committee, and there's a time and a place for a committee and for a democratic voice, but sometimes you just need to get a decision made and action taken. I just think my concern at the moment is, we'll talk about the women's team as well. Fortunes aren't exactly on the up on the pitch, unfortunately, at the moment for them. Obviously, the men's team got one win in Japan, ending the string of losses, but let's be honest, it's a bit of a sticking plaster over a chasm at the moment in terms of results. The regions, have had some okay results. Cardiff did all right last season. You know, they did. I think a couple of the teams got into the playoffs. The Ospreys have just signed a lease with St Helens Cricket Ground to turn that into the rugby ground. St Helens is in Swansea, not in the north of England.
Yeah.
But they've now signed this contract to turn that into a rugby ground, with the possibility that in a year's time there will be no rugby team to fill it.
Yeah, it's an awkward one. It is a quite odd one because also I think so. Cardiff have these external investors. Newport have new investors, so that there's a bit of outside interest that have come in now, and it's like, oh, what do we do now?
Well, I don't want to be overly unkind about this, but in a sport that has by and large chosen some of the least trustworthy investors to manage clubs and has a track record of parasitic investors, Welsh rugby really does lead the way on that. Obviously, Cardiff had to be taken over by the WRU because the last investors shafted them. The new Llanelli investors, I think it's an American health and beauty company, something like that.
Yeah.
But they're now being very coy about how much they're actually committed to. Newport have gone through any number of investors and have never gone anywhere.
Isn't one of them owned by like the Canadian Post Office as well, or something like that?
Yeah, something along those sort of lines. You know, and the problem is, you know, there's not a lot of money in rugby in general, and there's even less money in Welsh rugby. Yeah. So, if you're an investor going in, what's the motivation? And to be honest, my suspicion is it's going to be to asset strip and
it does feel
carve
like,
out some.
Have they caught wind of clubs no longer requiring the assets they own, and there's potential land there to build flats and shopping centres?
I don't want to do the whole thing down and say there's no hope for Welsh rugby, but they are on the precipice at the moment. I think if they don't get this right, and let's be frank,
there's a chance
there's not a lot of evidence to suggest they will get it right. No. If they don't get this right, then Welsh rugby could nosedive very, very quickly from here.
Yes, it's definitely one to keep an eye on through this year. I think a lot of very key decisions are needed, and let's just see how the WRU fold. And it's a completely non-deliberate segue into the next news. I know we're talking about parasitic investors. That is not the intention here to relate that to the other bit of news. Is obviously Newcastle Red Bulls actually getting across the line, and the thing we've been talking about for months has happened.
Yeah, and it's just superb because this is someone that you can, with almost absolute certainty, say this is not a parasitic investor. Yeah. This is a company with an excellent track record of investment in sport and
doing it the right way.
Doing it the right way. They've made some really good early moves in terms of the players they've signed. Maffei, the Japanese number 8, Freddie Clark. You'll know more of these off the top of your head, David.
Simon Benitez Cruz is quite an exciting one. They brought back Eduardo Bello in the front row. George McGuigan.
Coming back to
Tom
Newcastle.
Christie coming over from New Zealand. That's a
really, really good sign-in. Yeah. So, this was the news we were hoping for before the end of season 1. And, it's great to be able to come back to some good news and really, particularly for some good news for Newcastle. Because it was a club that really needed it, and we were really, really hopeful about this happening. From what I can infer, there's a lot of players on one-year contracts. Gut feel is they're thinking we're going to manage our way through the season, put the building blocks in. They've talked a lot about infrastructure investment, building those community relations, starting to build that community fan base, build links with the other Toon Army in Newcastle United. And from next year, I would expect to start seeing some remarket investment, possibly a new DOR that's been rumoured, that they're looking at a inverted commas world-class DOR to bring in at some point, possibly moving Steve Diamond maybe into a more supervisory or advisory role.
Yeah, and then there's talk already of them. Well, there's 2 fly halves in England out of contract at the end of the season, George Ford and Finn Smith. There's talk of them both being linked there already next season.
Everyone is now going to be linked to Newcastle.
It's a very
if you have a contract as well. It's an attractive proposition. It's a great city. And the opportunity to associate yourself with that brand is so immense that you'd be mad not to at least consider it.
Yeah.
And it's going to force every other club to raise their game, I think.
That's the bigger picture that I am hoping will happen. I think other clubs will have to raise their game, because I think Red Bull will change the way Prem Rugby, as we will now call it obviously, I think they will change the game and up the level of marketing, the creativity in that department, because that's what they do. That's their bread and butter.
Yeah, and hopefully Prem Rugby and the other clubs fully embrace Red Bull's approach and try to mirror it, collaborate with it, maybe attract their own brands of similar statures to invest in them. I think this possibly represents the biggest opportunity for Prem Rugby as it is now in terms of growing the sport since probably the advent of professionalism.
Yeah, I was about to say. I think this is the biggest step change since professionalism.
I don't think there's been a single event, maybe with the exception of the 2003 World Cup.
Yes, I think that's fair.
I don't think there's been another opportunity this exciting presented to the league as a whole.
Yeah.
To move these on to the next level.
I think the potential of this, the potential of this is far greater than the CVC investment, for example.
Yeah.
Like the potential is huge, I think.
Well, what I do think, and I know there's a lot of feelings about the CVC investment, and what the implications of that are financially. And I'm not suggesting that it was necessarily done in the best way to get maximum value from it. But what CVC do have a track record of is growing the value of the brands that they work with. And I think CVC will do a lot of work to help coordinate. I would not be surprised if they had a big hand in convincing Red Bull to take a look at Newcastle in the first place, or helping to facilitate that, because I think that's the sort of brokering that a company like CVC can do. Whatever your feelings about them as an investor or a partner, or whatever you want to call the league, they do have that ability and track record to build those kind of partnerships.
Yeah, I think they got a name check in the outgoing Newcastle owner. Is kind of leaving statement saying he was saying how grateful he was for the support he got from the Prem Rugby, the RFU, CVC. Everyone was clearly working to make this happen. So that makes me optimistic that everyone realises the potential here. So
yeah, and I think one of the things that should be mentioned is, and obviously it hasn't worked entirely the way that Newcastle Falcons would hope, but I think actually a lot of credit should go to Samor Kurdi.
Yeah.
What he has done to support that club over the years, and actually to then put them in a position where they could be bought, and to keep them alive long enough so that they could be bought. I think you have to applaud the commitment that he did make to the club to basically to no financial gain of his own.
Yeah.
So I think, a lot of gratitude should go towards him. And we got the opportunity now as a league to hopefully see the sport grow into what we do believe it potentially could be.
Yeah, I couldn't agree more. So it's a very exciting starting point for a new season, which in seasons gone past, very rarely have we had a positive starting point of a season. There's usually some bad stuff going on, some negative news stories. It's almost like overnight, all the horrible things we always see in the news about the financial situation of all the clubs, people have forgotten about that, because I think they're realising that, there's a turning of the tides here.
There's light at the end of the tunnel, I think. The last report in terms of club losses wasn't positive. It never is. And there are some clubs, the likes of Saracens, the likes of Sale, even the likes of Harlequins, that are still very much in the red.
Yeah,
our clubs in the red, but much less so. I think Gloucester are about 500,000 in the red, with a view to going into the black next year. Northampton, I think, about 750,000, something along those sort of lines.
Yeah, and that was because of the costs of building their new training centre and depreciation. So those are the only two things that forced it to be in the red. So some clubs, I think, are operating, I'm not going to say profitably, because it's not really profit, but they're operating within their means, and they are being run astutely as businesses to kind of keep them afloat.
Yeah.
It's just whether there's potential for maybe a profit line to become in existence for those clubs. There's always going to be a struggle with some of those clubs that you mentioned before.
But new TV deals being rumoured.
Yeah.
Obviously, hopefully, with the news of Red Bull being in, the opportunity will be there to bring other sponsorship and investment into the league. You know, there's more rumours around the franchising moment, but it's always going to be in the ether.
Yeah, and
but
I think well, I was going to use that as a segue into our next topic. Mainly being, I think the demographic of rugby fans at the moment is getting younger. The growth area is in kind of 18 to 34, a demographic that I'm clinging on to with the very, 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 I haven't got long left in it, put it that way.
No, it's soon to fade into the distance.
Soon to fade into the distance.
You soon won't be prime marketing.
I know.
You'll be one of those. You'll be priced in. You know, we don't need to market to him anymore.
Yeah, I'm not looking forward to that. But that is where the growth is, and that's where you want the growth. And then you look at the Women's World Cup, which we're going to start talking about.
Yeah.
The demographic, the age of the crowds at these events, which I'm very impressed with. It is young families, it is young children, girls, boys. They're the ones getting excited by this sport at the moment, and I think it's an opportunity there. And I think the league sees it as well. I think that's why they've gone for the rebrand. They are going for it, I think, and I think they're realizing that there's an opportunity here. So we're just here as two amateur armchair rugby pundits. Well, not really pundits. Rugby commentators, not even commentators. Two people who like rugby.
We downgraded there, didn't we?
Yeah. We're just trying to do our little bit to help that along the way, Rory.
100%. But with that, should we talk about the women's one? Because I have been loving this.
I'd be love to. And before we start on anything, how lovely is it that this entire country's getting behind the Red Roses? I can't go over a mini roundabout without seeing a Georgia's cross painted on it. There's flags flying everywhere. The nation is truly getting behind the Red Roses, and I love to see it. I'm sure there's no other reasons they're about. If there are, it's a load of rubbish. It's because they're there to support the Red Roses, and they deserve the support of the nation.
I believe we've renamed the mini roundabout near my flat the Sarah Byrne roundabout after one of our eponymous heroes, just by dint of painting it. So thank you for that, and thank you everyone for supporting women's rugby, because it's been excellent.
Yeah, but in all seriousness, like, it's not often we can say a deep and meaningful thing on this podcast, Rory, but it's quite a proud moment that as a nation, there's lots of things I'm not proud of what we do, but we do get behind women's sport pretty well, I'd say.
Absolutely. I think, you know, obviously the Lionesses and the football have proved that there's a massive appetite for top level women's sport. The women's cricket, the support behind women's cricket in the 100, and the national side it's been going great guns. And as a cricket fan, it's great to see, because I think that's it's just another opportunity for women to be recognised in top level professional team sport.
Yeah.
And women's rugby, you know, let's make no bones about it. Women's rugby in England is, I think, currently the premier example of women's rugby. Which you can tell by results, but you can tell by the quality of support. You know, nearly packing out the stadium alight in the opening game against
the USA.
The USA, again packing out the stadium against Samoa at the weekend. You know, you've got the likes of, you know, Lioness heroes like Chloe Kelly going to these games.
Yeah,
you know, seeing out and about with Ellie Kildun on a fairly regular basis. The quality of the games has been great. You know, people will point to some of the disparity in results. I'd like to point to Exhibit B in the last Men's Rugby World Cup. Some of the results there, so not an outlier.
I'm really confused by that narrative being spun by some by saying, "Oh, the World Cup's not very good because look at the scores." I was like, Have you looked at every other World Cup in every other sport? This happens in every sport, men's and women's. Like, it is no different. Don't make a mountain out of a molehill. Actually look at the narrative here, the story here. So you take England Samoa, for example. If you actually watch the match, Samoa have some really good technical skills. They had some really good stuff going. Yeah. It's just the fact that they're a team made up of people that are doing this in their spare time. They don't just have they don't have a fitness coach. They don't have the facilities. They've got the skills. They just don't have the fitness. And that when you get put up against the Red Roses, they're going to score 90 points against you. But the whole point of this is to give those women of Samoa an opportunity to play the best in the world, because they don't get that any other time. It's
a platform, and it's a platform for women in a number of countries where rugby may or may not have been given its due in the past. You know, look at the development of South African women's rugby at this World Cup alone. You know, reaching their first ever quarter-final. You know, they are on a massive upward trajectory. The Spanish team, you know, I know that results haven't gone their way, but really shown up in their games. The Japanese team have really shown up. The Fijian team, I do want to talk about that game with Scotland, because I've got some thoughts, but really impressed by a lot of what they've done. You know, and you know, that's before we get to the Six Nations teams, who almost all have performed really well in this tournament in general.
Yeah, almost.
The Australia team, really impressed by them. They've got some really exciting players.
Yeah,
they've come on a long way. I just think if people could step back from the old school, let's be honest, misogynistic view of women's sport and take the competition for what it is, it's just been great to watch. I've just thought it's been great to watch from start to finish.
Yeah, like you said, just step back, enjoy the rugby, and you'll realise it's been really good fun to watch, and the games have been really good. Like, ignore the score lines, focus on what you're watching. There's some good stuff out there. But I want to dig into your thoughts on the Fiji-Scotland, Rory.
Okay, so one of the things that is really nice to see is that whatever gender of sports, of rugby you're watching, one thing you can always guarantee is that a, in quotes, tier 2 nation will get shafted by referee decisions. Poor Fiji got absolutely nothing out of the ref for that weekend. The red card, for what my mind was maybe the best shot of the game, was ludicrous. It's just a ludicrous red card. I felt so bad because this is nothing against Scotland, who I think they've got a really good team.
They've been good, yeah.
They are a really good team, take nothing away from them. But I just feel for any time I'm watching, and this always happens with the likes of Fiji, just utterly shafted by the refereeing decisions. But in patches, they scored some phenomenal tries. The number 6, and I would apologise if I butcher my pronunciation here. So, but I think it's Downey Moala. Tall, rangy, powerful. She was just gassing centres all day and making line breaks.
She was a standout. She was definitely a standout. Was she the one that plays for, is it the Hurricanes in the women's Super Rugby equivalent? There was a couple, there was a few that they alluded to.
You might be right. Yeah. You might well be right with that.
But she was a class above, I'd say, in that 6 shirt. She was strong.
I thought she was really good. I think to work up until the, frankly, disgraceful red card was great. So powerful. Such a powerful player. She was just skittling people when she got the ball. Lamani came on quite early on for Stoles. Yeah. And I was really impressed. I believe related to Lamani in the men's team. But really impressed by her as well. But, I can't help it. Every time you watch a Fiji team and they get shafted by a decision, you go, come on.
Do you think it's just, do you reckon just because they're a Fijian team that TMOs look specifically?
They were really going out of their way. They were going out of their way to look for shots. The red card, it was a really good shot, just below. It rode up, fair enough. Most is a penalty. Scotland scored anyway. You're going back and giving a red card for that for? Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. Sense of occasion. Come on, refs. Realise what you're doing here. But, okay, so we touched on a few of the Fijian players there, but across the tournament, are there any players for you that have really stood out more so than you were perhaps expecting?
Yes. I won't go into. I mean, by and large, the whole of the England squad has been
Yes, I think that's fair.
really impressive. So I think we can take that as read.
Take that as red roses. Yeah.
Take that as red roses. I thought in the Canada team, I was really impressed with quite a few of their outside backs. Corrigan, Hogan, Rochester. I thought both looked really, really dangerous.
The Canada team is. You can tell the four teams that are probably the most funded and most professional of the lot. Canada being one of them. There's a clear difference, I'd say, when you watch a Canada to say a Fiji. There is a difference, and I think. Quite often, it's most evident when you get to the backs.
It tends to be the ability to execute.
It's the accuracy.
On a regular. It's like with any team. The difference between a good team, can they execute the opportunities that they come along? And when you've got wingers who can do that, you're always in a better stead. And Canada look really, really good for it. I think I'm going to forget her first name because that is still a theme of season 2.
Yeah,
Miller. The blind side for New Zealand. Really impressive. What an athlete. Serious wheels. Portia Woodman becoming the highest try scorer for All Blacks, either men or women. Brilliant.
Yeah, fantastic. Hopefully gets the credit she deserves.
Yeah, I hope so. I mean, she should do because they, New Zealand are obviously gunning for the title in this one, and a massive part of that if they're going to challenge England in particular. Hatada for Japan, the winger, Nuggety, scored a really good try.
Very physical.
Really nuggety.
It's like a Japanese Jack Now.
Yeah, very very good analogy. Yeah. I thought she was particularly impressive. The South African side in general very good, but Janse van Rensburg at 10 really impressive.
I think South Africa have been probably one of the biggest surprises for me because I was really not expecting much from them this World Cup.
No, they've really come out, and Italy are a good side, and I think it's South Africa's first win against it in this game, and so Italy will be disappointed because that pretty much kiboshes their opportunities to go through, doesn't it?
Yeah,
I think it does. But I think South Africa have been the real standouts. Really pleased for Brazil. The great scenes when they got their try against France. Yeah, excellent. The France team still looks very classy.
Yeah, again, similar to Canada, they are just a class above.
Bourdon. Yeah, I mean, they're a dangerous outfit. So I think all the teams in the quarterfinal, or most of the teams in the quarterfinal at least, have got a really good shot at certainly England. By some distance, the team to beat still. The power in that team is frightening. Their pack power. And I have to say, watching some of the warm-up games and watching the game against the USA in particular, I did think the pack is immense and the pack will score you a lot of tries in the power game. I was a bit concerned, actually, about their ability to execute in the backs. I thought that looked a little... Yeah. They weren't quite getting the ball wide and finishing off moves as well as you would expect them to.
Do you reckon it's because of the injury to Aitchison? Like she's been the 10 for 18 months now, and obviously Harrison's a good 10, but she's kind of been mainly playing the bench role for the last 18 months. I thought Helena Rowland looked pretty good, to be fair, against Samoa, but it's always hard to gauge how well that clicks, and the weather wasn't great.
I mean, I think there's a lot of different moving parts to it, but ultimately they've had enough time together. I just thought they weren't really executing out wide as well as you would expect. Yeah. That being said,
how good
against Samoa, I think in the second half of the USA game in particular, and against Samoa, the backs did start to click. Meg Jones, I think, was just really
so good,
proper world class. I think between Mo Hunt and Lucy Packer, they've potentially got the two best nines in the tournament.
I think that's what makes England such a dangerous proposition for everyone else. It's not just that starting 15; it is the depth. Look at the front row alone. I think they've probably got the best starting props, and their reserve props are probably the second best set of props in the competition. Same as
Sarah Byrne, Maud Muir, Sarah Clifford, Hannah Bottoman.
Kelsey Clifford.
Kelsey Clifford, apologies.
And then you got Mackenzie Carson as well. Like
Mackenzie Carson.
They're all very, very, very good props and
Yeah,
mobile
I think
as well. Like
really powerful in the carry.
Yeah.
More Muir just steamrolls people. It's great.
Yeah, it's unreal.
It goes looking for work as well a lot. Really goes looking for the ball.
Yeah. I
mean, they all do to an extent, but More Muir just seems to be everywhere.
Like we could do a forensic examination of the England squad, but I don't think we'd be able to do it justice because I think each and every single one of them really justifies their selection and really brings something slightly different to that team.
Yeah, absolutely. The only real negative in the group stage is the injury to Zoe Allcroft, isn't it?
Yeah. And she's someone that she does lead by example, and they're the sort of leaders I much prefer seeing on the pitch. She's supposed to be back for the knockout round, isn't she? Hopefully, it's nothing too long-standing.
Yeah, hopefully. But I say if you can get her fit, you can pretty much put out that. I mean, the pack from the opening game in the USA. I think that pack pretty much steamrolls everyone.
Yeah, I think so. Although the USA did do for the first half, I think they stood up well. And credit to USA for getting that draw against Australia as well, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I mean, to be honest, credit Australia for getting that sort of late try to bring it back.
That's fair, yeah. It was nearly probably nearly the first upset. Potentially there. I'm not sure exactly where they are in the rankings between USA and Australia, but it's good to see two sides. That
was a proper ding-dong.
It was just what the tournament needed as well at that point. I think it kind of shut up a few naysayers, perhaps.
Yeah, I'd like to think so. But yeah, I think England have set themselves up well. We'll see how it goes against Australia this week. And hopefully they pull out a similarly impressive performance, lay down a marker for the knockout stages. No one's going to want to play them at this point already. But I think if they can get through this game and really set the tone for the rest of the tournament, they still look good enough for the title to me. Even with that New Zealand side looking so impressive.
Yeah. So here's a question for you, Rory. Where does John Mitchell stand as a coach in the game of rugby as a whole?
Well, his CV is pretty outstanding, isn't it? Across men's and women's, it's been pretty outstanding. And I like watching particularly long form interviews, and he's done leading up to the World Cup. He had this reputation, I think, when he was with the men's team under Eddie Jones for being, a bit of a tough man, a bit of a hard man.
Yeah.
Actually, when he's had the opportunity to really dig into it and talk about his experience and what he's experienced in his life and actually his motivation, really, really intelligent, emotionally, he comes across as the sort of coach that players love to play for. You really go out and play for John Mitchell. For my money, he's up there with any of the best coaches. I mean, possibly Razzie Erasmus aside, who probably stands out. Well, I mean, he stands alone really in rugby coaching terms. John Mitchell stands up against anyone, I would say.
So it's interesting to see how his career goes on from this point. Does he stick with the Red Roses and keep going? And this is me thinking hypothetically in the future. I'm pretty confident that he's going to bring home a tournament win for the Red Roses at the home World Cup. I'm just thinking, what's his ambition? Is it to reinforce that, see the Red Roses through to the Lions Tour in 2027, which is something we look forward to talking about in the future, and what is in the future for the Red Roses, which is obviously a growing thing, and the interest is growing, so perhaps that's an exciting thing to be part of? Or does he go looking for one of the top jobs in the men's game? Or it's just, I'm trying to think where his next move may be. Not that I want to wish him out of a job.
No, I mean, if he wins the World Cup, I suppose the world's his oyster to a certain extent, because I'm sure the RFU will come on. I suppose, but question in terms of other coaching jobs, either side of it, where's the natural step up in terms of a challenge, in terms of prestige? Where's a coaching opportunity likely to turn up in either side? Because he's obviously a Kiwi, so maybe if the All Blacks job opened up, obviously he's been in that coaching ticket before, but I can't see them getting rid of Razor anytime soon.
No.
He's unlikely to, without that, Borthwick's not likely to go anywhere. So the rugby men's job isn't likely to be open. And would he necessarily want to go back into that environment? Possibly not although, it's not under Eddie Jones, so it might be slightly different. Australia are set for coaching. They've made their decisions on that with Les Kiss.
Yeah.
South Africa are unlikely to hire John Mitchell whenever Razzie Erasmus decides to step down. So what would be the natural step for him? What he may want to do is he may want to step away. He's been in the game a long time, so maybe he will, take the opportunity to retire with a success and go on to do other things. Maybe he fancies the Lions job.
Well, I was just thinking when I said that, I was like, he would be an ideal candidate to take that very first women's Lions tour down to New Zealand with an awful lot of credit in his bank, and he has probably a better experience than anybody of kind of coaching these women to play levels of rugby that we don't, 5-10 years ago, we didn't see.
That's maybe the only challenge that he hasn't had the opportunity to do that he could take on, and I'd back him for it.
Yeah, he'd get my vote. He'd get my vote, I think, if he wanted to. We'll see. But women's Lions tour, that's something to start thinking about, but a couple of years off yet, but something to be excited for, and a good backdrop to this World Cup as well, to think that a lot of these women, I wonder if it's in the back of their minds at all, because it's their last chance on a world stage to really show how they fare up to these Southern Hemisphere sides. I'm not sure how often they're going to play each other between now and then.
Well, they have the WXV every year, don't
they? Of course.
They do get more opportunity than you do in the men's game to have regular games.
I completely forgot about the WXV. Yes, that does help.
But regardless, the opportunity to play for the Lions is massive, whoever you are.
Imagine being Lion number one.
I mean, if you're selected captain for the Lions tour, put it this way: if I'm in an iron about whether I continue playing after this, and there was an opportunity to potentially go on the Lions tour, I'm going another couple of years.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. Oh, that's interesting. But so the Women's World Cup, we're going to keep talking about it because so far it has been a feast for the eyes. It's been a real positive part of rugby, especially in a part of the off-season that generally is barren with entertainment and it's just not a lot going on. It's been a real welcome distraction from nothing else going on in the rugby world, and it's been rightfully the centre of attention.
Quite.
Now, moving away from women's rugby, a couple of the off-season highlights, stuff going on, the stuff that we would normally have to be really picking at the bones at if we were to keep this podcast going, say next year when there's not a tournament going on. One of the best things about the off-season is all the teams start doing some creative bits of marketing, and a lot of it is always based around their kits, their new designs, some new stuff. Rory, have you had any particular highlights? And I fully appreciate for a podcast talking about kits may not work specifically well. So if you are listening along, get your Google out at the same time and have a look at these. But Rory, has there been any that stand out to you for good or bad reasons?
There've been a few highlights. Ones that I particularly like. The new Saracens away kit, really nice, like quite a clean. It's got a slight sort of faded pattern behind it, but it's a clean sort of white shirt with sort of black trim, black sleeves, which I do particularly like. That's well worth taking a look at if you're a Saris fan. Gloucester's away kit this year is a thing of beauty. Lilac, but with the they've got the pattern from the cathedral stained glass that they've patterned into it in like nice silver. Well done. That is a real thing of beauty. Outside of that, I mean, a lot of them are quite classic. There's been at least one real horror show, and it comes from Club. Do quite often come up with a horror show. I mean, Harlequins. What are you doing? I mean, my God, it's just it's a real Castor special.
Yeah, I often think, why do Harlequins fans hate Castor? And then you just look at that.
I mean, it's
If you were to paint a picture for the listener, Rory, how would you describe it in your most poetic?
Mr. Blobby under a steamroller.
Oh, I like that.
Yeah, it's pink. You know, it's Harlequins. They will go for a colour like that because, you know, it has to be something that matches the McKinsey lays and the Deloitte tote bags. So they go for a pink. Fine. I'm not averse to a pink.
Yeah.
But they've then accompanied that with. Have you ever watched Dexter?
I've not, but I know the angle you're going for here.
It's basically a blood splatter analysis on the front of it.
Well, so my analogy would be: have you ever been on a stag do to a paintball trip?
Yes, sadly.
Sadly. It reminds me of, you know, when they make the stag run through the middle of everyone with no clothes on, and you just at the end of it, they're just a bloody targeted mess, and that's what. Yeah, it's interesting. It's an interesting.
Yeah. I mean, it's okay with the home kit. They've gone for the classic 4 quarters. Oh no, wait, hang on. It appears to have been struck by lightning.
There's only so much you could do with the Harlequins design.
There's only so much you can do with any of them, but you know, sometimes less is more.
Yeah, I'm just glad you steered clear of the golden Northampton Saints away kit, which I'm still umming and ahhing over whether I love it or hate it.
It's a strong choice. I think you've been overshadowed by the Leinster, sort of half gold kit that looks a little bit more like someone's had an accident.
It's like there's a sunrise from somewhere there's not usually a sunrise.
Yeah, where a sunrise from where the sun don't shine.
Yeah, there's the tagline they were not expecting. Yeah.
The Northampton kit it's a strong choice.
Yeah.
What I'll say about it is the yellow doesn't really go with the purple.
Yeah.
But if you're a fan of clashing colours, then that's one to go for.
I don't mind clashing colours.
I don't mind clashing colours in general, but you know.
Yeah, I know Cinch is our lead sponsor, but I do feel they get quite a bit of. It doesn't necessarily go with the colour palette, let's say.
Look, Roster's sponsor is a company called Big Doug. It's not one of the cooler sponsors. I think they're a skip company.
With a name
or scaffolding or something like that.
With a name like that, it's not going to be fine wine, is it?
No.
But please do let us know if you've spotted any kit mares or kit just beauties, because I've really taken a dangerous dark turn in my personal life where I've just been looking up some real nice rugby kit, and I'm doing everything I can.
Have you seen what Toulouse have released? Toulouse kit this year is, and I already have a Toulouse shirt, and I don't live in Toulouse or go to games, and I want it.
Yeah, yes. The top 14 is littered with some beauties. I can see it slowly turning into a very expensive pastime of mine, which I probably should avoid, but some of them are just so lovely.
I've already sunk so much money into rugby shirts.
Yeah. There's always room for one more. There's always room for one more in the cupboard.
Just one more.
But that's kits. The other thing that usually keeps us busy in the off-season are the transfers. And I know we've spoken about the transfers towards the end of season 1, but perhaps one transfer that wasn't really spoken about when we last spoke is a certain Welshman who is coming back to rugby, and I know this is going to be a tricky one for my Gloucester supporting friend here, that Lewis Rees-Zammit has returned to Prem Rugby to the Bristol Bears.
What are you doing, Lewis? Why would you do it to us? Go over to that filth.
How will he be greeted by the shed, do you think?
In the traditional manner.
Oh, friendly and, no hostility whatsoever?
No. Angrily and with a great deal of hostility.
that one. Yes. Yeah. It's an interesting one. And Bristol, it's an interesting choice as well. If you were to take away your Gloucester tinted glasses here, Rory, is your appetite slightly whetted by the prospect of him being that Bristol backline?
I mean, from a neutral perspective, the idea of having Batoy, Ravuvu, Lewis Rees-Zammit, it is quite exciting.
And don't forget who they've got inside them now in Tom Jordan.
Tom Jordan, Bernard Janssen van Rensburger.
Yeah, Bristol is an interesting one. Even though
They might cook.
They might cook. If they
who will they have at fullback this year? Oh, they might put Tom Jordan there, mightn't they, with that Jim playing at 10?
Yeah. Tom Jordan may be there at fullback. They've got Rich Lane as well.
Rich Lane, of course.
Benjamin Elizalde, the Argentinian.
Elizalde, of course. He looked really exciting over the summer.
Yeah, and there's probably someone I've forgotten about as well, because obviously they've lost Max Malins back to Saracens, haven't they?
Yeah.
But if they can avoid injuries, specifically in the backs, they could cook. They really, really could cook.
Yeah.
I
hope they don't, but they might.
Yeah. I don't want to dig too much into the Prem, because obviously we've still got a few weeks till it actually returns. Let's keep our powder dry and not get too deep into that. But I am so excited. I'm so excited for that tournament.
I'm so glad rugby's back.
It's good. It's good. I'm feeling really, really positive and really excited for it. And it's made me feel even happier that we took our little break, because I feel refreshed and ready to go for once this 100%. All kicks off. Now, we're going to move on to the Grassroots Gang. Now, you've probably seen, if you do follow any of our social media content, that I've been tickling the idea of the Grassroots Gang out there. Not been doing too much, but the idea is to every now and then on the podcast to shine a light on a few things that are going on around the country, but also with ourselves, because to varying degrees, we're both still kind of playing rugby. One of us more so than the other. But this is the section where we're going to talk about what's going on in our own rugby lives, as well as the grassroots across the country. And we've spoken about kit already, and I've had a club reach out to me. And Rory, I don't know if you've seen it, but if you were to go onto our Instagram right now and go to our messages, you'll see a message from Frampton Cotterell, which is a local club.
The mighty Frampton Cotterell, Bristol team, I believe.
Bristol team, local to me. Now, before you go into any detail, how important to a grassroots club is the kit?
Well, there's two elements to it. You're hoping for something that is of a decent quality. You don't want something that turns to ribbons after the first couple of wears. You're hoping it looks pretty good, and you're hoping for a good fit.
Yeah.
And just as a slight aside, some years ago, we had a scrum half captain in the team who had a bit more of a say in kit choices than we otherwise like, and chose the slim kit for the whole team one year. And as a pack, we were displeased and suffocated.
That reminds me of our second year at university, I think it was, Rory, where there was a similar choice made on a black slim fit kit that for us props, when you put on a black slim fit kit, it stretches out and turns white.
Yes. Yeah, we looked really good in grey that year.
Yeah, we did. And when you're a team turning up, how much does the opposing team's kit... Is there any judgment made when you turn up and you see a team in a kit that's like, oh, that's a good looking kit? Does that play any part in the psyche of turning up to a team, or a team turning up to you?
Yeah, interesting one. I would say if it's a team that you know well and they turn up and their kit's looking a bit ropey, you're mentioning it.
Yeah.
If they look sharp, and particularly if they look good in the kit, it does make you think, oh, this could be a tough day at the office.
It is an interesting one, isn't it? It is an interesting one. Like if a team turns up and they're looking like, oh, you look like you kind of are well organised and a well-run organisation. You kind of think, they've probably done some condition training this week. They've probably on their fitness stuff. Now, all that in the backdrop, Rory, if you were to look at that message from Frampton Cotterell, they've sent through some pictures of their new kit for this season.
I'm looking at it now, and fair play, Frampton Cotterell. I'm going to call it now. That is a fabulous set of kit you've got there. Yeah. So we've got the black bottle green and gold home kit.
Yeah.
Really, really nice trims. It's the VX3. So I've had a few VX3 kits. Good quality stuff, VX3. Good sponsor on it, the Jolly Hog. That's a good sponsor for a rugby kit. That looks really nice.
Yeah, that was going to be my main point. What are your thoughts on the away kit colours, Rory? Because I think, doesn't that remind you of a club?
It certainly does. That is a maroon and gold top. And as a proponent of the maroon and gold, the Westcliff maroon and gold, Mag Army, as we're known. I'm a big fan of that. It's a nice, I would say that it's slightly different makeup to how we would do our kit. That's more similar to Amptil, similar kind of style to that, I think, off the top of my head. But lovely, really, really nice kit.
Score out of 10.
Works really well with the sponsors.
What would you give it out of 10?
Oh, that is a solid. I'm going to give that an 8.5 out of 10. Easy.
Okay. Well, Frampton Cotterell, good work. And if you are a member of the Grassroots Gang and you want to send us a photo of your kit for us to review, send it our way, because why not? Because we any opportunity.
Podcast just turns into me rating kits. I'm not going to hate that.
yeah, we're here for it. And if any club out there, professional or amateur, want to send us some kit,
hey, free stash.
Hey,
all rugby players love free stash.
Hey, we take stash where we get it, and I will wear it with pride, even if it's from the darkest corners of counties I don't know where they are. I'm here for it. Now, we touched on it, Rory. How is life going as the glorious leader of the Westcliff Lions, as you are currently bestowed?
Absolutely. So we had the second pre-season game last Friday, the first one that I was able to play in. Played Rochford, our local rivals, just about a mile up the road. We won.
Fantastic.
24-12, it was. Yours truly played a pretty magnificent half an hour.
Wow, that much?
Yeah. Frankly, at least 5 minutes too much. No, it was good. It was nice to get back out on the paddock. I've got to say, our first team is looking. I'm excited by really sharp this year. Obviously, they got promoted last year, so going into, I think it's called London and South East Premier, what used to be Nat 3. So playing against the likes of our other local rivals, South, a team that you and I know well, Colchester in that league.
Okay, interesting. Yeah, heard of them.
Yeah. So it'd be a tough league. It was always a tough league to go in, but it's one of those leagues where if you can match the physicality and you've got the skills, then you can thrive in it. And I'm backing the boys this year. I think they're gonna solidify their position. And as for the Lions, I tell you what's been really pleasing, and this has been probably the first year since COVID. Numbers way up. Regularly 30 plus players at training. I reckon we've got a solid squad of 40 players that could be in and out the ones and twos. I mean, genuinely, first time since pre-COVID that we've had those sort of numbers milling around. You could genuinely fill in, and that's plus some other vets who will pop in and out when Captain Morale comes calling for a ring.
It's interesting. So I was talking to someone here who plays for a club nearby, and they've said this is their first year where their numbers are up as well. So I don't know what's going on, but it feels like participation levels may be turning a corner as well.
Honestly, it's participation-wise, it's the best year we've had in a long, long time. Our women's team, the Westcliff Lioness, their participation rates have shot through. They're signing players left, right, centre.
Brilliant.
Got themselves to Twickenham last season in the Cup, and look strong enough to do so again. I think I don't know about the rest of the country, but rugby in southeast Essex at least seems to be thriving at the moment.
Well, there we go. If you're ever after a corner of the world where rugby is prospering, southeast Essex is the place to be.
Absolutely. And how about your forays back into amateur rugby, David? They were man v fat journey. How is that all continuing, progressing?
So the threats to actually run out in a contact version of the sport haven't beared fruit yet, but I'm not ruling it out.
Yet.
Obviously, I'm in a post-Gallstone world now, so my man v fat record of I went 16 weeks in a row losing weight every single week. I have been on a record now of 4 or 5 weeks in a row gaining weight, which is kind of flies in the opposite direction of what I'm supposed to be doing. But although tonight I did go and I registered my first loss for some time, so I'm back. I've stopped the slide and I'm back on it.
Excellent work.
I've even started going to the gym, Rory. Now that's
good.
That's
good
a revelation.
God, man.
That's a revelation.
Good.
But the big Man v Fat update is on the 20th of September. there is a national tournament taking place, and I will be attending. And I want to know from the Rucks, Mauls, and Oval Balls faithful, of which there are millions, how much do you want me to show you? Because I'm willing to go the whole hog and do a TikTok live of as much of that day as I can, or do you want me to just not show you any of it? I just want to know.
I think let's show the masses. Let's show the masses what fat men can do when they put their mind to it on the pitch. That's the inspirational story of rugby.
That's what I'm thinking. I think why not inspire another fat man somewhere in the world that may be watching to go and do the same thing? Because it's a lot of fun. And I'm really hoping that we're going to go and... Well, it's hard to say because I've got absolutely no idea of the standard of all the other sides. Because it's the first ever national tournament. Man v Fat Rugby's not been going for very long. There could be a team out there that's made up of ex-7 circuit players. That we may be one of the better teams. I don't know. But we are going there to win.
Well, as you should. And as two fat men who've forayed back into, we should be exponents of this as an ideal, and therefore I would let's give out some advertisement.
Yeah, why not? More to come on that. But it's 20th of September, so just a couple of weeks away. I'm going to try and figure out ways where I can share as much of that day as possible with everyone. Because why the hell not? Why not? And all I've got left in Grassroots Gang is just an open invite to any club out there. If you want to send us any stories, send us any clips, send us pictures of your kit, just send them our way. Because especially if anything comes up that's like really interesting and really worth talking about, we'll talk about it on this podcast. We'll get it spoken about on the channel. And we're going to keep an eye on this through the season. So please do tag us in stuff. Even if it's something if you're just having a sausage and cider festival, maybe we might be interested in that because we like sausages and we like cider.
I mean, two of my favourite things.
Yeah, exactly. The only difficulty we have is because Rory's still an athlete. I know we've had invites to I know we've had invites to like games and things like that. Obviously, Rory is also playing rugby when everyone else is playing rugby. So our ability to come and visit you whilst playing may be limited, but please do let us know if you want us because we will explore options.
We'll do what we can.
We'll do what we can. We're going to try and lead into this Grassroots Gang as much as we can, hopefully successfully. And if unsuccessfully, it'll just be like all of the other things we try. And we'll, much like the DPRFR, we will flog that until it is no more. And we will keep going and keep going. And the DPRFR has not gone. It's just maybe not a weekly thing because Rory really did exhaust that metaphor to its bare minimum.
The nation's in retreat.
I think the only other thing I have for everyone at this point, Rory, is to plug Malls and Overballs Super Brew Fantasy League.
I really like the Super Brew Fantasy League. I've done it the last couple of seasons with reasonable success, not overall success, but reasonable success. I've had a lot of fun playing it and irritating other friends with my pick all the best players.
Yeah.
And sometimes not.
Yep.
But absolutely. If you're interested, good fun. It's really free to do. And it's a nice way to sort of expand the experience of enjoying a game. You can actually watch it and go, oh, actually, he's carried a few times. That's some points this week. Similar to the old FP. It's well worth getting involved in.
Absolutely, and for any hardcore fantasy rugby fans out there, I've got a second game coming that I think is even more nerdier and is even more detailed. So watch this space. But if you want to join the Super Brew League, now Rory, I made the commitment last year when I set this up that if I got over 100 people in the league, I would put a prize in. Didn't get 100 people in, so the prize didn't come to fruition. I'm thinking again, if we get 100 people in our Super Brew League, and we're at 58 at the moment, I am willing to put a prize on the line of any Prem Rugby kit of the winner's choice if they follow the channel and are participating in the league.
Agreed. I think our mob will will buy the winner a kit of their choice.
Absolutely. So you heard it here, but we need at least 100 people in that league to make that happen.
And we'll buy it for you when the sales come out after the season.
Oh yeah, in clearance, obviously.
Yeah.
once the next load of kit have been released. But yeah, we'll keep you posted on fantasy rugby, and there's going to be some more
horrible
fantasy
Quins kit.
Yeah. If you're a Quins fan, don't ask us to buy us that kit because I don't want that. I don't want that attached to my credit record.
Algorithms suffer. I'll just be getting flogged Jackson Pollock paintings.
Oh yes. But I think that's everything, Rory, for this week, our first week back. Was there anything else that you wanted to share with the listener at all?
Up the red roses.
Up the red roses. We've been Ruxballs and Overballs. This has been episode 1 of season 2, and we're back, and we're sticking around. We've got a long way to go, a lot of rugby to come, so you better subscribe, like, follow, and yeah, keep listening. Toodaloo.
See you then.